Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have an excellent rack. I will almost certainly be bingoing with this. I've got a lot of sevens, and I'm sure there are plenty of eights. Pretty much a dream opening rack. One of the blanks, and the remaining 6 tiles, all bingo-y ones. The duplicate are not a problem. I've got Raiders as a 7, but I'm sure there's a ton of them. I'm not going to cycle through the alphabet for the blank because there are just going to be too many options. However, were I to play a 7-letter word, I would be looking for the blank to duplicate one of the tiles on my rack. So my opponent's changed. So what about playing erided with the blank as a D? So erided for 68. Not great, just the one vowel. Erided takes nothing in front of it. I've got the Z, which is good, but the high-scoring tiles usually benefit from having vowels. However, there are 3 vowels in erided, so I'm sure one of those will remain available. Now, I'm just wondering about womaned in column 13, which preserves the Z for score and sorts the rack out. Let me check that. Yes, that's fine. So that would leave... I don't have an A for that. Okay, well, nice idea. Nowhere huge for the Z. And I am looking to leave a decent rack leave as well as scoring. Okay, that doesn't give too much away. However, can my Z get tripled? I've got the O for going in front of PE. Yes, I have Moz. Was not good. But this is pretty fortunate. 76 points. Pretty poor rack leave, but 76 points is such a big score that overrides the paucity of the leave. And this is another poor rack. However, I have a 120-point lead. I am grateful for having one vowel. It's much better having one than none. And there is a vowel available on the board in erided with the A. Moz does take an E after it, so column 15 available for a high-scoring non-bingo. Only 23 points for my opponent, that's good. Mad takes nothing in front of it. R only takes an E after it. So, I think my run of good scores is coming to an end. Do I have anything better than just playing through the A? Can't see anything extending Zeta or open or mad. Can't see anything down from GI. Nothing down from N. Well, I could just play Wand. Dismal score 8, but it is better than changing, and the rack leaves okay, and I am taking out 2 useful floaters and only really providing 1 useful one. And although Roquet is a double-double lane, the S would have to be in exactly 4th place. Not good. Drawing all these eyes. However, NIDI is good and INTI is good. So those are short words which take out a couple of I's, and so is India. I've got a 100-point lead, so I'm quite happy for the board to stay tight. But it's so early in the game, I don't think it's going to be possible to keep it tight for long. I can't see any 8s with this rack. Close to nidation. That would require one of the I's to be an O. No E for Mo's, and there aren't many 7-letter plays beginning with N, and none that I can see with this rack. I haven't seen anywhere great for the short double I plays I mentioned earlier. Well, except what about here? Again, a poor score, but it's a good rack leave, and it's interfering with floaters and only providing one new floater, and it's pretty much taking out the double-double lane. Well, still not getting the E for Mo's. And it's a shame with my opponent changing and scoring not very much that I'm unable to keep pressing ahead with the scores. A couple of 30 or 40 point scores could have really extended my lead. Abc only takes an S after it. C only takes an H under it. I've got no scoring tiles apart from the Y, which can go underneath the N. So I could play dirty for 25, turning over tiles. Still one blank out there. And not providing a huge amount for my opponent, just the floating D and I. And I'm obstructing row L as a bingo lane for 7-letter bingos ending S or L. What would be slightly better, I think, score-wise? Tiddy. And a better rack leave, 28 points. I draw the second blank, and this is a pretty good rack. I should be bingoing here. The only thing which would hamper me, I think, would be a dearth of bingo lanes. But I'm sure I have something through the T and the I. Just wondering if there's anywhere else to look. I guess through ID, but that might be... Oh, well, I have Serenoid. Yeah, I have Serenoid onto ID. But it's possible that all of these floaters could be blocked. However, if my opponent plays in row L, he may be opening up a 7-letter lane in row M. I'm not sure if Tiddy takes an S in front. It either does with this spelling or ending IE, I think. Good, it doesn't. And I say good just because it means my opponent isn't able to avail himself of that hook. Obviously, given that I have the S, it may be useful were it to exist. I don't think there's much likelihood of me having a play overlapping Tiddy and Abc. So I'm not going to look for it. I have Serrano in column 7 and OW. That places the S just in front of this triple word square, so not ideal, and it's providing a ton of useful floaters. Opponent taking a while with his play. Abc was his last move, so he's got 5 random tiles on his rack, and prior to that he changed 4 tiles. Well, he certainly doesn't have a blank since I've had both of them. There could be a bingo lane in a bingo playable in row I, ending with the N, but that's opening up column 1 for a triple, so not particularly good. Great. None of the floaters in Tiddy have been interfered with. Do I have a play ending with K? And look at that score, 64 points for my opponent. Pretty good score. So I have rank as a final ending to a word with SOR blank. And I have rock with the blank as a C. I'm just not seeing anything ending with the K. ASK ending. Okay, I'm going to abandon that. It's not particularly dangerous. It would just score well were it to exist. Now, my best lane is going to be through T or I. And I would cover this double letter square. So what do I have with this rack plus an I? And I'm just pausing in case something leaps out at me. It doesn't. Orarians. Yep, I think that's pretty good. No reason not to play that. I think better plays are only going to be slightly better. And the S not massively useful towards the beginning of a word. So Orarians for... And Rosarian is the anagram, but that I think takes an S. I'm just wondering if it's better for obstructing bingos in rows 3 and 5. Let me just check if Rosarian takes an S. It does, so I think I'm going with Orarians. Not good. UW, a bad combo, and the G adds to the woe. No 7-letter bingo here, no 8 that I can see. However, I have a 120-point lead, which is good, and it's a fairly balanced track. So I should be able to work my way through it. And I finally do have an E for making Mo's. Maybe I should have considered... Well, I was going to say considered last turn playing in column 15, but of course column 15 is not a bingo lane. Opponent has the vowels, or has vowels, and scores 27, which is a good score for getting rid of 4 vowels and 1 consonant. He's also obstructed bingo lanes, which is good. YO does not take an S. So, what do I have in column 15, ending ER? Well, gluer, perhaps. 22 points, not very much. What about playing Gru down here? 25 points, not a great score. Setting up a hot X spot. 13 minutes on my clock. My G can go in front of the I of AE. The trouble with leaving a crappy rack leave is that it increases the chances of having a troublesome rack next turn. So that's the vicious circle one wants to avoid. However, it's also important to score. I'm going to struggle to play off the U and the W, so I might as well resign myself to keeping the U. And therefore, Gru does play off 3 of the troublesome tiles, and it retains an E for Mo's. So I'm not going to be in desperate trouble next turn. And I'm taking out the floating A. And maybe I'll draw the X myself. I don't. My rack gets significantly worse, duplicating the U and the L. $31 points for my opponent, good score for him. He's only 90 points behind, so a bingo for him could really change the complexion of the game. There are bingo lanes on this board, in particular through the N and S of Aurarians, and there's an X for a bingo-y score, unless I take that out, which I can do. I can play Liu, 19 points, not bad. Pretty grim rack leave, but let me look at the remaining vowels. 15 vowels out of 36, so only slightly consonant heavy. But I'm going with this. I draw one of the U's, so I've still got a vowel heavy rack, but I've got a scoring tile in the M. And apart from the N and S of Rosarians, the board is quite tight. The G, not a particularly useful floater, in first or second place. And wow, opponent does bingo. 65 points, he's now 45 points behind. Now I've got an M for going underneath the H. What can I do with that? It would be nice to play off at least one of my U's. I may not be able to do that. I don't think U goes... Well, U goes underneath O, so do I have anything U, A, M? No, I don't think so. Well, this has really changed the game a bit. So I can play Am. Let me see what that scores. 35 points, which is an okay score. It's an atrocious rack leave. Opponent could have a high-scoring non-bingo play in column 15. Can I really not do anything better than that? And I'm focusing down here because this is a scoring spot. Opponent could play Ox and Ho, so I think I do need to play here. Now, what about not putting the M underneath the H? Can I do anything better? Well, I could play Meal for 41 points. More points. Yeah, I'm going with this. Yeah, there's only one more U to draw. And I dodge it. I have no scoring tiles, but I do have a 90-point lead or an 85-point lead. Column 15, I think, is the most dangerous score-wise. Assuming the G is not used for a bingo, but looking at the remaining tiles, they're not great. Now, opponents opened the board up. What do I do about this? I can't play parallel to Vatu. There are no two-letter V words. 11 tiles in the bag. Pretty non-bingo-y. But there's still column 15 lurking. Column A, row A rather, looks dangerous with that V. But what can I do about it? If I had one of these 4 eyes, I could play out Vi. I think I've got unvote, but that dodges both triples, both triple word squares. Surely there is some play through the V which reaches a triple word square. I've got the out prefix. Doesn't seem to help. I don't have an L for Vulu. The V is not massively dangerous. It just provides an opportunity for my opponent to score 30 or 40 points without bingoing. So what about playing in column 15? I could play outer. Not great, since it does take front hooks. 7 minutes on my clock. Now Mozo is good. Should have thought of that earlier. The 2Us are quite troublesome. It would be nice to play off one of them. So, what about playing Tuna? It doesn't have a front hook. It scores 20 points. I think the vowel situation is just about okay. There are no more U's to come. There's only one O. And there are 6 vowels out of 17 tiles. So if I get swamped with vowels, it means that my opponent is likely to be very vowel light. And if I get consonants, I'll have a balanced rack. I'm going with this. I have 1 scoring tile in the F. I think I've drawn the last E, which is good. The remaining tiles very unbingo-y. And my lead, only 80 points, 79 points. So I'm vulnerable to back-to-back high-scoring plays. The J and the X still to come. 7 tiles in the bag. I think it's in my interest to turn over tiles to try and get one of the J or the X and to minimise the number of remaining moves that my opponent has. I think he's very unlikely to bingo. However, it's possible he has a bingo through the A. But with no A's and E's in the bag, I think it's unlikely. So do I have a play through the V this turn? Well, I no longer have the second U for Vulu. Great, only 22 points, and that's the J out of action. 4 tiles left. So I don't really want to play a play from the V, getting tripled, because that will empty the bag. My lead is just 50 points, and there's the X out there. And the X could go in column 14 next to the U. So 3 tiles. What can I do? 6 minutes on my clock. Are there any other big X spots I need to block? My opponent could really come back into this game if he's got a 50 or 60 point X play. Can't see one. Can't see a play in column 1 through the J. Can't see anything in column 14 with my F. How dangerous is this spot? Well, it's a 40-point spot, and I'm only 57 points in the lead. Maybe I can block it another way. Well, not that I'm seeing. I'd quite like to play off 3 tiles. What about this? Foo, 14 points. Well, there's another F out there. I think that's foolish. 4 minutes on my clock. I could play Lout, 8 points. That's really dangerous when my lead is so fragile. I think I do need to try and score more. So where can I simply score a lot with my F? 4 minutes on my clock. Just can't see anywhere great for the F. I would have had Fuji if the J was slightly differently placed. What about emptying the bag? I'm retaining the F for score. I'm scoring 24 points. The F can now go underneath the I, so I'm setting up a good spot for my F. My opponent does have an F, but I'm not sure he could play fix. Three minutes on my clock. Do I have a V play which places a consonant here? Gosh, just tricky position. Now, what about playing on top of Soothest? Can't see anything which scores well. 2 minutes on my clock. Okay, I'm going to play this. I draw the X, fantastic. I've got fix in row B. That's a little bit fortunate. I can see what my opponent's got. I don't think he can really use that spot. I'm sure Voile was pretty suboptimal. So 2 minutes on my clock, 9 minutes on my opponent's clock. My lead is 80 points. And I've got two big X plays available. I've got fix or fox under Voile and fix in column 14. Opponent's not going to go out in one with the remaining rack, so I've got two goes. So if I play fix, I'm keeping GLOU. I think glout is good. Do I have a second out? A vulgo, so yes, I think this is fine. $21 for my opponent. So glout, 12, vulgo, 10. Anything better? X takes an O, but no four-letter plays with this rack. And that's the end of the game. Final score, 347 to my opponent, 457 to me, a winning margin of 110 points, which is a pretty big winning margin, but it didn't feel like a one game until very close to the end. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go fast. He changed. This was my rack. I played a rided, which isn't down here, but it's going to score the same. Opponent's rack, that looks pretty good. No bingo. Plays Gaper. And now I have Moz for 76, which was quite fortunate. Opponent's rack. He plays Nan, and this was a tricky rack. And I played Dawn, and nothing obviously better. Well, I played Wand, which is actually pretty similar. And I think Wand is better because Dawn allows a 7-letter play ending in E, and Wand doesn't. Opponent does have vowels, changes. I also have vowels. Okay, and India and AW. I'm not too keen on that. It's only 14 points and it's opening up column 8, the triple word square, so I quite like where I played it, and also playing it here retains the D, which helps the vowel consonant balance. Opponent plays Absy, and I played Tiddy for 28, Caddy available for 32. Okay, but sticking the Y in row O, so I prefer Tiddy. Nice rack for my opponent. Chokius through an E, no E's available. Plays Shock for 64 points, and he's only 60 points behind, but I have a fabulous rack. And I played Aurarians. Nothing much better score-wise. However, there may be better bingos in terms of the floaters you provide. Opponent plays IE, and now this was a tricky rack with GU and W. Wow, look at that, Grueler for 42. That would have been the play, I think. Instead I do Gru for 25, which is in the mix of the plays other than Grueler, but I think Grueler a clearly best play. Opponent plays Chi, and now my rack's awful. Look at these scores and rack leaves, absolutely dismal. So I make a play to take out an X spot and sort the rack out somewhat. However, opponent has a bingo, and suddenly I'm only 45 points ahead with a tricky rack and with some big tiles to come. Omar for 40. Okay, I didn't do that. I played Meal for 1 more point. Yeah, I think Meal probably a better play. I'm not sure how useful the E and the L are. Meal is turning over 1 more tile, which increases my chances of drawing the X. I don't know. There may be a difference in those plays, but I'm not sure which is better. Opponent plays Vatu. And now, I thought about outer, didn't like it because of the front hooks. What did I do in the end? Tuna for 21. Yeah, that's fine, I think. Opponent plays Jota. And after much agonising, I play Voile, I think. Yeah, Voile for 24. Slightly risky if my opponent has the X, but he didn't have it. The best my opponent could do is 22 points. He plays Via. And now I have Fix for 45. Opponent plays Fit. And finally, the outs were Glout and Vulgo. Glout scoring more. So, a pretty good game. It was a win by over 100 points in the end, which was quite good. But there were some tricky racks in the middle of that, and I think the Grueler play illustrated that on occasions there is one really good play, and it can be difficult to see, but it is significantly better than other plays. And the end was slightly nerve-wracking with the potential of my opponent having the X, and that would have brought him really close, and I think we'd have both had tricky racks to deal with at the end. But that didn't eventuate because I drew the X and ran out a comfortable winner. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.